The big stuff coming down this morning from the Supreme Court. We've got now, I got to get into this a little bit. These are both big wins. Let's start with the bigger win, I would argue, because it's broader, dare I say, almost universal in its scope. And it is the Supreme Court 6-3 came down and said on the issue of birthright citizenship, which has gone before the court and is being addressed still, but on the ability of circuit court judges to give universal injunctions that go beyond the relief of just an actual complainant. Am I saying that right, Clay? That they can no longer do that. Essentially, judges can't just do these, I don't like Trump, I get to shut him down. They can't go to some lunatic liberal judge. Clay, they can still bring suits. It's been, sent on remand to lower courts they're going to bring more suits about, this isn't about birthright citizenship at all yet. That still remains to be seen. But on the universal injunctions, which is the primary method of slowing Trump down in policy so far in this administration, this is a big win for Trump, and also just shows you they are right on the law. Trump, his team, they've been correct on this.
Yeah, this is really important, and we asked this question after Trump won. We said, where is Trump 2.0 resistance going to come? We talk about the bedraggled, sad protest that we drove through right before the inauguration.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
It was kind of cold, like there was a bunch of old, ladies walking around.
I wanted to give them some hot cocoa. I actually felt bad for them and their purple hair and the whole thing.
I just felt so bad for the people who were protesting because it was cold and there was hardly anybody there, and there's some sort of loser guy beating on bongo drums in the cold rain. It was like 34 degrees and raining. They haven't really been able to mobilize any kind of significant protest. And the No Kings thing was a total joke, too. It had no impact. The oligarchy tour, all that. So they haven't been able to mobilize any kind of mass resistance on the streets. Even the ICE protests got snipped in the bud, so to speak, really rapidly. And so they haven't been able, there's no Democrat authority figure in any way who has emerged as the anti-Trump that is coalescing disagreement. And so most of the opposition has come from the judiciary. And there are, whatever it is, 600, nearly 700 federal judges. And by unprecedented numbers, they've been striking down decisions that Trump made and issuing these nationwide injunctions. And the Supreme Court 6-3 said most of the time that's going to be improper, which is actually super important. And this is me being a legal nerd here. The precedent the Supreme Court has put in place, this is important, would theoretically also restrict a super right-wing judge from one day being able to strike down nationwide what a Democrat president did. Now, that hasn't happened on the same level anywhere near, but in the event that, let's say that AOC is one day president, and there's a judge in Alabama or Texas that really kind of lights them up and tries to enjoin nationwide something that the President AOC is doing, under this precedent, they would not have the ability to do it. It's the right decision, Buck, and let me legal nerd out here a little bit. The supreme law of the land is whatever 5 judges at the Supreme Court say it is. That means you have to get 5 judges, by and large, to agree with you. There are some exceptions. Sometimes judges recuse themselves. So I'm not getting directly into the legal weeds here. But as a general rule, 5 judges are required to have a nationwide law. What has been happening is, if you think about the flow chart, there are 600 some odd federal district court judges. All of those federal district court judges are inside of circuits. There are 13 circuits nationwide federally. Every one of their judgments then goes to the circuit court level. Circuit court judges typically sit not in full totality, but what's called en banc, which means that you're going to usually get 3 judges ruling on a district court judge, meaning 3 judges are required to do anything at a district court level to review a district court decision. Then you can ask for the entire circuit court to rule. Then you would have to go to the Supreme Court. What has occurred is we have inverted the power structure relative to precedent such that individual judges were exercising more authority than actual Supreme Court justices or circuit court judges who were above them on the hierarchy of judicial ruling. And so that may be nerdy and your head may be exploding, but effectively what the Supreme Court is saying is this is an inversion of how judicial rulings are supposed to go. They are slapping down these individual judges and saying you can't issue a nationwide injunction to try to overturn a president's decision. Ultimately, that comes down to 5 people at the Supreme Court who have final say, not one federal district court judge, which is the right ruling. And it's actually a rational, reasonable ruling when it comes to separation of powers, because otherwise you have 600 some odd federal judges who have veto authority over presidential power and no democratic way to ever remove them from office by and large, because district court judges have lifetime tenure. So that is me jumping into the legal pool and explaining here. It is a significant ruling, and it will have a significant impact on everyone, limiting their ability to infringe on presidential authority, whether it's Democrat, Republican, or some party we don't even know of that's going to rule in the years ahead.
Big deal. There's also a Supreme Court decision that came down that allows parents to opt out of LGBTQIA plus reading propaganda, which is, I think, another big win for this administration. And it shows, Ron DeSantis here in Florida is very clear about this. There's all these memes and things flying around. It's like, yeah, in Florida, you know what? We're okay with just not having pornographic materials in third grade reading rooms for kids. That's how we roll in Florida. You can push for other stuff in, California or wherever, but that's not how we do things here. So another win for the administration. But Clay, this goes on this big heap of the so-called, look, the legal intelligentsia is as corrupt and partisan as the media, news entity, journalism intelligentsia. More. I think more is correct. Well, they're very close. I'm still blown away the sports media is more left-wing than the news media. I did think that was one of the craziest.
Sports media is worse than legal media and regular political media.
I actually thought you needed to be put in a rubber room when you said that, but no, the more I've seen, the more I know. You would know, and they are completely insane. I don't know how it's possible, but they are. I didn't know much about them. But the legal intelligentsia, people like Lawrence Tribe, so many others, they tell you Trump is shredding the Constitution and Trump is doing... And you look at the arguments, you go, hold on a second. No, what he's doing makes perfect sense. If you read the Constitution and just have a basic understanding of the rule of law, it aligns with what he's doing. And then sure enough, when it makes its way up to the court, yeah, I know they're going to say, oh, it's because the court is more conservative. Amy Coney Barrett is not a rubber stamp for Trump, okay? And she is she wrote the majority opinion on this. Amy Coney Barrett is perfectly happy to tell Trump to, long walk off a short pier, so to speak. She does not care. And even she had to say, we can't have federal judges overruling the president on a whim on any policy they want. That is completely, and think of all of the people. Clay and I have been telling you, this is insane, this has to stop. Look at all the people you see going on MSNBC. These judges are, defending the Constitution. They're wrong on everything because they're lying all the time.
I also think Amy Coney Barrett, I'm going through some of these rulings. She may be getting fed up with Ketanji Brown Jackson just being a moron. This is about as, hey, you're unbelievably dumb as you will get. And again, I'm going to read it to you. This is from Amy Coney Barrett. The principal dissent focuses on conventional legal terrain like the Judiciary Act of 1789 and our cases on equity. Okay, it's basically saying, hey, I disagree with you, but you've made a plausible, reasonable legal argument that someone could make. Justice Jackson, however, chooses a startling line of attack that is tethered neither to these sources nor, frankly, listen to this, Buck, to any doctrine whatsoever, waving away attention to the limits on judicial power as, quote, mind-numbingly technical query. This is as close to "you are a moron" as you will get in judge speech, which, again, legal nerding out. When someone says a startling line of attack that is tethered neither to sources nor, frankly, any doctrine whatsoever, it's basically the law is whatever I choose to make up, is what Ketanji Brown Jackson, Justice Barrett, is alleging here. And, again, I think whatever you think about Justice Kagan, she is intellectually, I think, a legal heavyweight. Doesn't mean that I agree with all of her rulings. I think that Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson are not even in the top half of intellectual ability for an average lawyer in America today. That is a profound indictment of their selection for the Supreme Court. Again, they're a brilliant liberal left-wing legal theorist. I took classes from them that could sit on the Supreme Court. When I hear Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson's questions, and when I see some of their written opinions, which even aren't even being written by them, right? The clerks are doing it. I question whether they are in the top half of legal acumen for average practicing lawyers. I really do.
I think, Clay, if you gave me 2 weeks to study, I could beat Sotomayor in a legal knowledge contest, never having gone to law school. 2 weeks. I would need 2 weeks. No,
that is bold. But you know what's funny is I kind of think there's a benefit.
Clay, she gets smoked. She gets smoked. I'm telling you right now.
I kind of think there is still a benefit to old school when you just had to sit and read all the books, and that was how you studied to go to take the bar exam. Because any lawyer out there who has taken a bar exam will tell you, you finish 3 years of law school, and then you have to study for about 3 months to pass the bar. Why shouldn't you just be able to study as long as you want privately and take the bar? That's what I think. That's how it used to go. I think that 3 years of law school is actually just a financial barrier to a lot of people who otherwise would be smart enough to practice law and don't have the money or the time to allocate the resources necessary to pass a bar exam because they don't want to spend 3 years in law school. Well, look, product innovation means everything. Gives you a competitive advantage. Rapid Radio's walkie-talkies, perfect example of this. They let you connect with anyone, anywhere in the U.S. via a nationwide LTE network. They're fun to use, a throwback to childhood. My kids have them to stay in touch with us. And Rapid Radio's no setup. Pull them straight out of the box, press a button, boom, one-touch connection. Perfect for communicating with one employee or 200 on the go all the time. With nationwide LTE coverage, Rapid Radios 100% private, no monthly fees or subscriptions. Rapid Radios will combine the simplicity of walkie-talkies with today's technology for peace of mind. Visit rapidradios.com to save up to 60%, free UPS shipping from Michigan, amazing state where I spent this week until today. Use code RADIO for an extra 5% off. That's code RADIO. Order today at rapidradios.com.